Welcome back to another Porsche Car Whisperer video. My name is Mason Gilchrist, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys two absolute beasts that come from the Weissach Research and Development Center in Germany. We got one for the street, one for the track. We got the GT2RS Clubsport versus the GT2RS. Let's go ahead and dive in and see how closely you can get to the track car in the street version.
That's good.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start off by talking about the power plants that feed both of these cars. They're actually very similar. So both of the cars have a 3.8 liter, 700 horsepower turbocharged engine. It's going to be twin turbocharged. They both have a PDK transmission too, which is kind of peculiar. Not too many race cars actually have a PDK transmission, but both of them do. So that makes them very, very similar from the race version to the street version. Let's talk about weight. The weight on the GT2RS street version is about 1,470 kilograms. For the GT2RS Clubsport, it's about 1,390. So a little bit of the weight savings, you can already see, that's going to be part of the difference as far as acceleration as well as track times. What also goes into the weight savings of both of these vehicles? They both have what we call carbon fiber reinforced plastic on a lot of the panels. It's going to be a little bit more on the GT2RS Clubsport than it is on the GT2, but you can see here as far as both of the hoods on both of these cars, they're both going to be the carbon fiber. On the GT2RS, you're going to see there's two little ducts in the hood. That's called a NACA duct. That helps with any type of brake cooling as you're just going crazy speeds with the car, and it just helps cool off the brakes. The carbon ceramic brakes really help dissipate heat very quickly either way, but this helps with those extreme temperatures that you may be hitting when the car is going at extreme speeds. So on this, you can see there's two NACA ducts, and there's also a carbon fiber hood. On the GT2RS Clubsport, a little bit more aero as well as a little bit more ducting that you'll find on it. You can see there's going to be some ducts here up in the front. It's going to help with a lot of the cooling system as well. Both of these cars have what we call a water jet system. They're a little bit different from each other. It's where you're going to put distilled water inside this large tank, and that's going to help cool, and it's going to spray the radiators in the front of the car as well as in the rear on the GT2RS Clubsport. It's going to spray water to help cool that system down. So that's something that you're going to have to do while you're racing either one of these cars. You're going to have to make sure that that reservoir is going to stay full. Otherwise, the car is not going to be running at optimal temperature, and your track times are going to get a little bit less as that lowers for both of the cars. Another decent difference that you're going to find on both the cars is going to be with the wheels. Now, most GT2RS Weissach RSs come with magnesium wheels. This particular car does not have that really beautiful magnesium wheel. It's got just a bunch of spokes on it. Looks really pretty. That's a pretty significant savings that you'll find on these cars. Now, when you go to the GT2RS Clubsport, has a little bit smaller of a wheel, and they're going to be an forged alloy from BBS. They're only 18 inches opposed to a 20/21 staggered fitment on the GT2RS. Now, let's talk about the brakes. The brakes on the GT2 are going to be a carbon ceramic 6-piston in the front, 4-piston in the rear. They're massive. They're over 400 millimeters in diameter in the front and just about 380 in the rear on the street car. These brakes are absolutely insane. But on the other hand, the race car has a little bit different brake setup. They're going to be from Brembo. It's more of a race setup where it has a motorsport pad. The pad's going to be a lot thicker than you're going to find here on any of our street cars or any cars in general. Most cars start around 10 millimeters as far as the pad thickness. On the race car, these suckers are probably about twice that, and that just helps with the extreme racing conditions that this car is going to go through if it's endurance. Not too many people are going to endurance race their GT2RS. It's going to be more of a track toy that you're going to go out on the weekends. So that's why part of the reason that the brake pads aren't near as thick. but these brakes are still insane. They're just a little bit smaller and they're made out of steel, not carbon ceramics. Brakes that you're going to find here on the street car are ridiculous, guys, ridiculous. They stop like on a dime. If you guys have never had a chance to drive a car that has carbon ceramic brakes, I highly recommend driving a car. It feels way different than any car that has steel brakes. Let's talk just a little bit about how these cars are fueled. So this car you'll see here in the front, that's where you feel it. It's going to be right there in the center hood. That's just for speed. With this car, it's going to have our standard fueling system that's going to be here on the passenger right front fender. The main differences is if this car is going to be set up for endurance racing, it helps with speed, that you can just take this huge hose with fuel and fill this puppy up really quick if you're doing any type of pit stops. This car, you'll just fill it up in between when you're doing the track days, if you're not some crazy hardcore racer that you would be with this car. You guys may be just a little bit curious about the suspension on both of these cars. They're actually very, very similar to each other, which one may think one's a little bit better than the other, but they're very, very similar. They both have a McPherson strut setup where they are adjustable. You can adjust this car's suspension just like you can adjust this car's suspension. So that in the scheme of things is very similar. This one has a little bit extra dampening as well as Porsche torque vectoring, but this car will not have that. So that's actually something that you're going to find if you're not some crazy race car driver. This Porsche torque vectoring, as you're going around corners, is actually going to break the inner brake to help you pull you around corners faster. So this has a little bit more technology when it comes to the suspension as well as the dampeners with Porsche Active Stability Management. About the GT2RS and the suspension is a lot of that actually helps you to be able to drive the car on the street. The GT2RS Clubsport you cannot drive on the street. It's not a street legal vehicle. This car can be a weekend warrior car going through the canyons, or also can be a track car. That's what's so fantastic about the GT2RS, is it can be an everyday car or it can just be a track car. You can do whatever you'd like with it. So you can zip to the track, race it around the track all day, and then drive home. GT2RS Clubsport, you cannot do that. So with this car, that's a huge benefit if you're looking at getting either one of these cars. Let's talk a little bit about the price on both of these vehicles. The GT2RS is going to be just over $300,000 depending on the equipment the car has. The GT2RS Clubsport is going to be about $478,000 starting. So a pretty significant price difference for a car you can just take to the track, or a car you can take to the track as well as the street that has a ridiculous amount of power. So it's going to be kind of up to you guys on what you're looking for. If you want to be both track and street, this is definitely the car for you. If you have maybe done that in the past and you want to start getting into more of just a strictly track car, this may be the car for you. Something else that this car has that this car is going to be a little bit different from, a lot of the Porsche race cars are going to have an internal jack system. There's going to be an air pump that's going to be here on the side. When the car is coming into pit, you're going to fill it here with air. It's going to allow the car to get raised up on jacks so you can change the tires very quickly. These cars are going to have a center lock system. It's going to be very quick with an impact gun. The GT2RS does not have that, but you're probably not going to be endurance racing your GT2RS. This car is going to be more of a daily track car or street car, or this car you can do endurance racing, especially through SRO. There's been some SROs racing that has started up again. Coronavirus kind of tackled this and didn't really allow us to get any racing in, but there was just a race this last weekend that was with the GT World, and there was 4 GT2RS Clubsports. I was really excited to see those cars out there racing. A couple of them were from GMG. Another one was 311RS. So these cars are starting to get out there and race. A little bit more aerodynamics with the GT2RS Clubsport. You can see some of this ducting here on the side as well as in the front. We'll talk about that here in a moment, just a little bit more of the downforce that you're going to find in this car opposed to this car. This car is still absolutely fantastic. So Right away, you can see from the back of both these cars, they mean absolute business. You can see these big wings that are on both of these vehicles. Let's talk a little bit about the Downforce. You can see how tall this wing is here on the GT2RS. On the Clubsport, it's even going to be a little bit taller. Offers us a little bit more downforce. Now at 120 miles an hour, they have a little bit different downforce. This one has about 152 kilograms of downforce going on the back of the vehicle. That one has about 252. So that's what helps that car achieve a little bit faster lap times, along with the weight savings is going to be just because that car is strictly race car. This puppy you can take on the street and carve the canyons and also take to the track, which is awesome. As you can see, it's pretty dang tough to get into the GT2RS Clubsport. It's pretty amazing how a lot of these race drivers can get in and out so quickly of these race cars. Let's talk just a little bit about some of the differences you're going to find between the 2RS street car and the race car. At first glance, you'll see that this door is super light and it's actually going to be cut out, and it's that carbon fiber reinforced plastic that we were talking about earlier. On the street car, you'll see a decent amount of difference. These Recaro seats make me feel like I'm getting ready to go through a dang roller coaster ride. They're super snug. As soon as you were to strap into the 5-point harness, you won't even really be able to touch the dash. You are truly going for a crazy ride. Now, what's really cool about this car is it's going to be a PDK transmission, which is going to be derived from the GT2RS, and it's actually going to be the exact same gear lever that you're going to find in this car opposed to the other car. I think that is so awesome that you find some things from one car to the next car. Something else that the GT2RS Clubsport has that not too many other race cars have is an actual air conditioning. A lot of the systems have what we call a cool box that's going to come over into your suit, and it's going to help you cool as you have your race suit and your helmet on driving this car. This has actually got an air conditioning, and it's the exact same air conditioning unit that you'll find over there in the street car. I think that's just so cool that they're able to bring both the street and the race together. Now this car is limited to just 200 units worldwide. This is number 86 of 200. That's a pretty dang low number. The street car doesn't actually have a plaque on it, but it's said that there's anywhere between 17 and 1,800 of those vehicles rolling around. Let's talk about the steering wheel. This steering wheel is actually the same steering wheel you're going to find in the other race car, the GT3R. It's a full carbon fiber steering wheel with an array of buttons. It looks like I'm getting ready to go to space in this thing. There's a pit speed button, a drink button, a radio, several other buttons that you're going to find, but I'm not going to talk too much about them today, as well as carbon fiber shift paddles. They're really skinny. You'll see in the other car it's going to be a little bit different, but those are carbon fiber as well. And this steering wheel will actually come out, so you can leave it up here on the dash so you can get in and out of the car easier. As you saw, getting in and out of this car is pretty dang tough. Now, with this center console, you would find a PCM in the regular street car. This has a series of buttons to be able to turn on the ignition switch on and off. And this race car actually has a physical key. Key looks identical to what it does in the street car. It just doesn't have an alarm system, so the lock and unlock doesn't really do anything. The race car is also equipped with an Alcantara dash. Over there in the race or street car, you're going to find that it has a full leather dash with this really nice stitching. Makes it look very classy. Now with these race cars too, there's going to be of course a full roll cage. In the street car you won't find that, but I'm pretty bummed because here in the United States we don't have what's called the Clubsport package as part of our street cars, either the GT3 or GT3RS. It's where there's actually going to be a roll cage that you can put in the back of the car at a zero cost option. We just don't have it here in the United States, but as you can see with this car, there's a full roll cage in this puppy. So if you were to, for some reason, roll over, you'll be more than safe. And if for some reason you were able to go on the side of the car, you would be able to go through the top here as soon as you're strapped in. So that's an easy exit, is to go right up through the top. All the race cars now pretty much have a GT3 Cup. This car, of course, Any of the GT4 cars also have this hole in the roof, which makes for a nice, easy exit if you were to make some mistakes on the track. So this car is fantastic inside. Several other differences you're going to find between the two cars. There's a battery that's going to be here in the passenger side footwell. Over there on the street car, it's going to be right up in front where all the other batteries are on all of our other Porsches since really the beginning. But that's something that you're going to find a big difference between the race car and the street car. So you can see this puppy going on a roller coaster, not really going for a cruise in this guy. Now we're going to try to get out of this thing. Let's see if it's as hard as it is getting in. I don't think I'm doing it quite right, but it actually isn't too bad. You can see that getting out of this car isn't as bad as I thought. Man, that was a breeze. You can tell a huge difference between getting in the Clubsport and this car. These buckets feel absolutely amazing. It's not near as like a roller coaster ride that was over there that felt like we're getting strapped into a bomb. This feels like it's something I can actually get in and out of relatively easy. So with these, they have the carbon fiber fixed back seats. They're really, really beautiful. On the back, it's all going to be carbon. In this particular car, it's black on red, which looks really sharp, especially here at night. We're filming at night on this video. You can really see how sharp it looks here in the video. Instantly, there's a lot more creature comforts in this car. We've actually got a sound system. We've got a radio. All that stuff is great. So as you're cruising through the canyon or even on the track, if you want to listen for music, that may be a strange thing to do, but you could certainly do it if you wanted to. There's quite a few buttons that you're going to find here that you won't find on the Clubsport. We've got a sport exhaust. This has a front axle lift system, so you can lift up the car and not have to worry too much about scraping that front lip. You can turn the traction control off as well as the stability control. Also stiffen up the suspension a little bit more, and then also put this puppy into PDK Sport. It's going to be a little bit more of a snappier shift than you'll even already find in this car. This car shifts ridiculously fast, being a double clutch transmission. Coming here to the steering wheel, it's going to be a full Alcantara steering wheel with a 12 o'clock marker. That kind of shows you this guy's ready for the track. That's a very track thing to do, is put this 12 o'clock marker on. So as you're turning, you know where the top part of the steering wheel is, regardless of how crazy you're going around that track. So I love having that marker on these steering wheels. This has carbon fiber shifters as well. They're not quite as clicky as they are in the race car, which is a good thing, but they're very short and snappy. A lot of the other cars from 991.1, they weren't as near of a short throw, which I really like it. It makes for a nice feel. Completely carbon fiber shifter, as well as here on top of the steering wheel, all throughout the car as well. You'll see carbon fiber here on the door sills, as well as here in the doors, and right here where the cup holders go. On the Clubsport, there was a plaque that said what number the car was. On this one, it says Weissach RS. They want you to know where they make this car, and that's in Germany at the Weissach R&D Development Center. That's where all the GT cars come out of, as well as all the race cars. So that's where this puppy was developed, as well as the other car. You can see here this AC control unit looks darn familiar. Same one that came out of that car. Now this is going to be completely different. This is what we call the PCM screen, Porsche Communication Management. This is where you can link your phone, do all the music. This is key, and this is what helps you be able to talk to your friends and makes it more of a comfortable ride, being a street car, not strictly just a track car. This car also comes with a fire extinguisher. That's kind of strange. If you were to get in a wreck in this car, you can get that fire extinguisher out and blow off your $300,000 race car. So that's a really nice feature to have too. Only track focus cars will really have that, and this of course is one of them. Something else you're going to find in this car with weight savings is going to be these nylon straps. Only some of our GT3RS or GT2RS cars are going to have this little strap, as well as GT4 or Spyder. You pull that, that's with weight savings. It doesn't save a bunch, but with this car, it's all about the weight savings in track times. Speaking of track times, this car beat the 918 Spyder around the Nürburgring Nordschleife. 918 had about a 6:57 time. This puppy was in the high 6:40s. Crazy to think that just in 3 years, from 2015 to 2018, that Porsche was to make a turbocharged car that insane of lap times. It's just mind-boggling to me that it was able to beat a hybrid hypercar in just 3 years. So that's just the one to show you guys a little bit of the differences between the inside of the race car and the street race car, baby. As you can see, the GT2RS Clubsport is just a little bit louder than its street variant. But the Clubsport does not have to go up against any of these sound ordinances that the GT2RS has to be, being a street legal car. Besides, you don't want your neighbors to be mad at you as soon as you start the car earlier in the morning and you just hear this loud rumble. You may still have that issue with the GT2RS, but it sounds amazing as you're driving the car. I hope I was able to give you guys just a little bit of insight as to how closely related the GT2RS is to its track brother, the GT2RS Clubsport. As always, I really appreciate you guys watching these videos. It really helps me if you like and subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.
And drive it on an everyday basis.
So they was doing good. That helps it achieve a little bit better track times over the course of the day, of course. Over the course of the day, of course, that doesn't make any sense. That's going to be a blooper. But with this car, but the engine and stuff was similar, but you're right, the brakes, I don't want to start, because I like this car. This is my favorite car, right? So it's hard not to talk too good about it.
I hear you and I feel that. And